This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
What a beautiful morning. It's overcast here where I am at the moment in Juma. A very, very good morning and welcome to the beginning of our morning safari. I am Sydney Niconico and I'm traveling with Dave, who is my camera operator this morning, and we're going to try by all means and get you see a lot of interesting animals. And please don't forget that this is an interactive live safari and we are highly accessible. You can follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. The search for the cats continues this morning. Hopefully we might see Hosana or Tingana, as there's quite a lot of evidence, and Hosana was also spotted last night. It's just that I think it rained a little bit last night. I cannot see the tracks. All the tracks fainted. Let me go and see what we can find. So it's not that very cold this morning, so it's chilly a little bit, but I think for the cats and the animals is much better. This is much better than the sun. So it's not raining hard in the area. So there is no much changes when it comes to the filling of the dams. So now let's cross over to the guided walk.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the bushwalk. In fact, indeed, we are out. My name is Steve. I'm with Craig this morning on camera. Good morning. What a wonderful morning it is. Sydney says the leopards like it cool like this. Well, we do as well. It's lovely. There's almost a thought to put on a jacket, but we know in about 15 minutes, half an hour, it is going to get warm, and, well, the jacket's just going to be a waste of time. But anyway, it is wet, the grass is damp, and on our way back to camp last night, as we were pulling into camp, well, guess who decided to pop out and say good evening? Hosana, the little chief. So he walked straight past our camp here. And we've just found lots of tracks of impala and animals that have been running and jumping. So I'm going to do a little loop around here, see if we can maybe pick up on his tracks. It is quite tricky, though, when the ground has been rained upon. I can show you up ahead here. We can see some tracks in the sand. You can see some impala tracks here. Here's an impala track. This is before the rain. It's all before the rain. But if I came along and I'm a leopard and I step there, it's almost invisible because the ground is quite hard. So unless Hosana does something like that and moves the soil, it is sometimes very tricky to track after rain because the rain puts a bit of a crust on the soil. But anyway, we've got Herbie. He's an expert. He doesn't miss a trick. So I'm sure Sydney's told you how to get hold of us. We'd love to hear from you. Any interests you'd like us to focus on this morning, please feel free to send them through. #SafariLive, or just drop them in on the YouTube chat stream, the all-important @FC, and keep your questions relevant. And hopefully we can show you some wonderful things this morning. But Craig can show you on the horizon there. There's still some rain looming. It was drizzling through the night. Not too much, though. Just a nice soaking rain. That, well, will make the herbivores even harder to find because there is moisture on all the vegetation. All the little pans and puddles we've been looking at have got a little bit more moisture in them. And, well, we're hoping this is going to provide a very nice green flush to all of the grasses that, well, are still waiting for the rain. So hopefully it'll be here now. You can tell that this area here where we are, the grasses are slowly coming back, but you can see the ground cover between is enormously different. So there's a huge gap over here. This is an area that gets very well utilized by herbivores, but these grasses are going to grow and they're going to cover the soil, protecting from the sunshine. Which is a very important element, but succession is taking place. You can see that there are some small grasses that are popping out in between here, and it's a very important element behind succession. And ants are all sorts of animals who have been moving around the seeds, the birds, the antelope, and they get deposited on the ground. And hopefully, with enough rain, these seeds that are lying dormant in the soil will flush back again, because as you can see, there's almost no ground cover around us. It looks like a green carpet, but there's an enormous amount of space in between. Hello, Joy. You'd like to learn how to identify trees? Well, we can most certainly do a little bit of an element of that this morning. I do have Patrick himself on walk with me, and he is going to be doing a couple of segments. And, well, let's see how good he is at identifying his trees. We're going to ask him in a little while, but we'll look at the different leaf shapes and exactly what to look for when identifying a tree, and it's not that hard. You obviously, if you want to learn how to do trees, it's very difficult to do it all in your head. You need to buy an appropriate book that once you've got the leaf sample and the tree sample, you can then find the name by using a book, of course. It was very handy. So there are many different types of trees out here, and we'll get you a couple examples shortly and show you the differences. But we're going to continue on here. Herbie's just in front of us, but Sydney, as always, is on the search for a cat.
I am now trying by all means here by the Galago towards the Mvubu Road. This is the place where I am thinking Hosanna might be. When he was spotted last night, he was heading towards this direction. I also saw him last night. So there's too much impalas. The direction where he was heading, there was too much impalas, and Hosanna is very skillful. Maybe he's got something already in the area here. And you must remember that he has been away for quite a while. So all these lambs who are coming from the impalas at this stage, they don't really know him and what he does. So that's why when a lamb is caught, you see these lambs playing with Hosanna because they don't know they are playing with a dangerous animal. And these impalas are now starting to formulate some interesting strategies. You will see them in big herds by the open areas. They are all concentrating by the quarantine, which is much more open, and they can see far from there. Still no tracks crossing to this side. Oh, it is drizzling a little bit at the moment here. I didn't copy a question from Cool Breeze at the moment. Cool Breeze, at the moment the animals are not dying. Yes, we have lost some animals just before the rainy season because of some kind of sickness. These animals, when they go through a lot of stress, there is a disease which is called a myopathy. This myopathy is a disease which causes quite a lot of muscle problems, and you will see them when they've got the muscle problems, the legs become stiff and they can't walk, and suddenly they battle to climb very small obstacles and they die. A lot of nyalas in the game reserve died because of that kind of a disease. It looks very quiet here where we are at the moment. So I have not yet picked up any kind of tracks for these cats. I am very sure that Osana is around here. So when the rain is drizzling like this, maybe it's somewhere under these bushes. But he can travel a long distance as well, because it was last seen here running about past 8 last night. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where my friend David is having a sunrise.
Jambo Jambo, and a very good morning from the Mara Triangle in Kenya, and we got that beautiful sunrise from the eastern horizon coming up. My name is David, and hello to all of you, and on camera with me this morning is Archie. Archie, how are you doing? It's an exciting morning, a bit cold because you're talking of 17 degrees Celsius and 62 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's why I have my Masai shuka on top. And I think it has been cold. We had massive rains last night. We're just watching the sunrise there. But before we go there, we also want to show you the roads and maybe try and explain to you what I'm talking about when I say rains last night and this morning almost until about 5 o'clock, 5:30. So that is one of the roads that we use, and you can see the amount of water on it. We've got so many roads now that have become no-go zone, and we are trying just to keep and stay on the big roads. Sometimes they call them M25, to avoid getting stuck. The geology of the soil here is a lot of black cotton soil, and some areas got the clay soil, and the black cotton soil, chances that you might get stuck. So I want to stay on the big roads, but my plans this morning are to get to the Sausage Republic. I tried to get there yesterday. I could not make it because the rains were heavy, and I guess I don't want to get stuck. So I want to try and do that this morning. You get a better chance of doing that in the morning than in the afternoon. All right, remember, as usual, our drives are always very interactive. I'm sure Steve and Sydney told you that. So should you have any questions or comments, please send them through #SafariLive on Twitter. Or you can still keep following us on the YouTube chat stream. Great comment. I'll be very careful I don't get stuck on the mud. And it's very simple. If you stay on the big road, you're fine. But before you commit yourself to come out of the big road, you need to have a proper judgment. Sometimes we make mistakes, but the good thing is our vehicles are four-wheel drive, and we got all what we need to get ourselves out should we get stuck. Well, let me hit the road and move a little bit fast to my destination. It's quite a distance from here. And in the meantime, we'll take you back to Steve to talk about some tree.
Thanks, David. I love how David says it's a bit cold in the Mara. He's going to wear his shuka. He's always wearing his shuka. Anyway, we have got a tree for you. Here's the first one to start off with. And what you will notice, if you first have a look at the plant, you'll see that there's some spiny-like thorns on the branches. And you know, we need to identify what is a spine and what is a thorn, first of all. And there's a lot of definitions that are different. Some people will call a thorn a modified leaf, and some people will call a spine a modified leaf. So it is really quite tricky. But I do believe that a spine is a modified stem, and a thorn is a modified leaf. Now, when you find a leaf growing off of a branch that is spiny, then you call that a spine. And when you have a thorn growing out from the base of a leaf, then you call it a thorn. I hope that is explaining enough. But we've got a beautiful plant over here. You can see the leaves here. It was what we call a simple leaf. Here you have got, it is actually growing off of the spine over there. And when I say simple, it means because there's a growth point just inside the base there called the apical meristem. That is where the leaves are growing from. And now this leaf here, I'm going to grab it off for you. You can see it. It's got a little bit of the margin. The side here is a little bit rough, a little bit jagged on the side. And if I turn it around, the colors are actually pretty much the same on both sides. So that's something to pay attention to. Quite often you get leaves that are one color is brighter than the other side, and that's quite easy to remember because in the book it will call it discolorous, which means the top and the bottom are a different color. But here it is the same. It's not that shiny, it's quite pale green in fact, and the margin is rough. And it's a simple leaf, and this is a very easy one to remember. This is called a common spike thorn. It's quite edible. It's okay actually. But one thing that's easy to remember, Mrs. Lapwing, you want to know what it tastes like? It tastes just like a little vegetation piece of grass there. Not too tanniny, not too strong, but they get a bit tougher and a little bit more sort of tannin rich as the year goes by. But of interest to this common spike thorn is the color is almost sort of a turquoisey green. The red spike thorn is another one we get nearby, but its leaves are much greener in color, much greener, and the tips of the spines have got little red tips on them. Hopefully we'll find you one. But these are very nice trees, and what I like about this common spike thorn is it's actually a family relative and is a remnant of the forest biome. You do find this tree inside the forests in South Africa, which means that the forests evolved into savanna, and this is one of the trees that now occurs out in the savanna itself. It's managed to evolve slightly differently and to cope with the harshness of the African sun, but in the forests they actually grow almost like a creeper, like a vine, very tall up into the canopy, and much bigger thorns in the forest as well, much sort of longer, not thorns, spines, much longer. And here they don't get so big. You don't even see these plants very large out here, but they do get smashed by elephants, and they are quite well browsed by many animals. The leaves themselves can actually be made into a poultice and used on any sort of wound you have or injury on skin. They've also been known to treat scorpion stings and snake bites. So a very nice plant to use, and what I love about it is remnants of the forest biome. Nanopi, I'm looking for some insects on it. I haven't seen any. I haven't quite seen any yet. No doubt there are some very small camouflaged ones, but it is the time of year for insects, so we are definitely keeping our eyes peeled. Can you see something, Craig? No, nothing on this one. We will keep looking though. No doubt there will be plenty of insects in and around. What is really pretty about it though is it's got a very nice arrangement over here of the lichen. And the lichen, which is a symbiotic relationship between algae and fungi, for the last little while, the lichen has all been very desiccated, which basically means it's dried out. And what's happened now because of the rain, you see how soft it is now. It's opening up, it's absorbing moisture through the atmosphere, it's absorbing nitrogen from the atmosphere, and it is growing on the plant in a symbiotic relationship where the fungi and algae are living in a mutual sort of symbiosis and surviving on the plant and making what is a very pretty little display. Very nice. So you often find lichen on common spike thorns. You get lots of them. And often when you look at the bark here we've got the bark of the tree. It's not the best example, but the bark is often littered with lichen, and it's got very fissured, rough bark. Very rough When I say fissured, lots of grooves in it. This is a small specimen, but if I showed you a bigger one, you'd be able to easily see the fissured bark and sort of the grooves in it, which is a very, very easy characteristic to have a look at when you're identifying a tree. Because when you're looking for a tree to identify, you also need to, once you've done all of this classification, have a look at the growth form. How is it growing? Is it big? Is it small? What does the bark look like? What color is it? Is there any sort of flavor to the leaf? Is there a smell? And then also what is most important is where is the plant growing? Because if it's growing in a river or on a rock, it's going to be a very different plant through an evolutionary process. So those are important characteristics to mark down in your notebook while you go home to find it in your plant book at home. So, off we get. Well, we're going to continue on through here. We're getting nice wet feet in the grass. Sydney, who is on the vehicle, doesn't have wet feet, and he's still searching for a cat.
I am still searching for these cats, and I was checking around the quarantine. I saw that around there, the impalas, the biggest head I have seen, which is occurring there, is not there at all. And that is where the last sighting, according to the latest update, is where he was last spotted doing some hunting last night. So those impalas are not there. I am just now going to check the treehouse dam and come down again to see if we can pick up any of the tracks. Once we pick up the tracks, I can guarantee you we're going to see this animal. Call 6, the Unkuhumas, I have been to the Triple M. They are still gone to the private property, not out yet. Maybe this is going to be our lucky morning for us to see them coming out. So if I hear anything about the Unkuhumas while I'm driving, I will attend to them. So at this stage, I am standing by for any update. So I will also go and check the Triple M to see myself if they are still in there or now on their way back. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where the lions are just having some breakfast.
Very good. Well done, Sydney. Make sure you get to the treehouse dam, because we have always said water is life and you never know what you might see around that dam. Last night I was here with this particular female lioness, and she was having dinner of this, what used to be a toppy one day or until yesterday, and the meal I think was still too big for her because she has not finished and she is still on it this morning. Well, this is one member of the Olololo Pride. It's not very far from the camp. I'm talking about 5 kilometers from the camp. And it was a toppy, and from a distance I saw another female that came close. So I've been wondering where the other members are, or it is time for people to have separate meals, because these lions went together. They are always 16. So she was alone last night, but about 50 meters from here there's another lioness lying down somewhere, which I would guess must have shared this meal with this particular one who is feeding now. So it was a toppy which I think they killed, midday, about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. And I'm sure in the confusion of the rain is maybe what could have made it easier for the lioness to bring it down. It was only this one particular female that, brought it down. You can see how green the grass is after the short trains. I'm calling them short trains because that's what they're meant to be. But from what I'm gathering, or from what we're feeling and seeing now, they feel just like the long rains. They're pretty heavy. Just pulling all what is left before the hyenas come in. Quite a distance from the North Clan. If the North Clan were anywhere close, they could be here. Mrs. Lapwing, can you hear the starling, I guess? And that's a great comment. And on top of the tree, above the tree, we can see the tree now. There's so many starlings on this tortured tree. Thank you, Mrs. Lapwing, is saying she got beautiful eyes. And it's true, she got very beautiful eyes, golden in color. You can see as we bring them closer to the screen. Thank you, Mrs. Lapwing, to hear your name and to know you are tuned in. Always a pleasure to hear your name. Not very far from here, there's a hyena that's just laid down, who is trying, I'm sure, to sneak on this particular kill. In general, when lions hunt, you'll see them, teaming up as a group to hunt together. Is always a very collective activity. But once in a while, you get one lioness hunting on her own. And this is exactly what she did. Actually, not sure if you pan in that particular direction there. There's a lioness to the left. Patrick, good question. What part is she feeding on? I think she was feeding on the hind quarters. She already finished everything that was in the front quarters. And if you look carefully there, to me, that's the hind quarters she's feeding on, Patrick. And because they normally go for the very soft parts, all the internal organs are gone, Patrick, if you look carefully. And what they do, they try to thaw the meat and remove the skin using their very rough tongues, and then that way they are able to reach the meat. So Patrick, I think she's feeding on the hind quarters at the moment. So to the left, yes, that's where you're going to. And the hyena there, she's alone and just sitting, hoping that maybe the other members will come and join her to come and intimidate this lioness. And Megan, the final control, says, nice. And this is how it plays out here in the wilderness. You'll just get one predator waiting for the other one. Cool breeze, very good question. I'll tell you, a single hyena has 0 chances. It has no chance at all of getting anywhere close. And that's why she's sitting there. And the only thing she can do is to wait for the other members to come. And anything from 5, 6, they can intimidate a lioness. But one thing, a kill is very swift, very quickly, and they call each other and you hear, ooh. I'm sure you have heard that cool breeze before. And before long, the hyenas gang up together and get very close to the lionesses eating or whatever pride, and they'll always make sure they get them out of their kill and they take over. Well, my actual destination was to go find out the sausages in the Sausage Republic. I will leave this lioness here to enjoy her meal and go to Patrick, who is trucking this morning.
Well, it's not Patrick yet. It is still with Stivovo. And we have found some very important organisms out here. And you all probably remember I'm quite interested in ecology, and I love how things work out here. And what we have found is 2 different species of very important arthropod, or not should I say arthropod, but detritivores. Well, we've got, first of all, the millipede mating couple, and then a giant land snail who is enjoying saying hello to my stick. He's now a little bit shy, has dropped his head back in. But both of these organisms, the millipede as well as the giant land snail, are very important for breaking down organic material out in the wilderness. Both of them do like the rain. They come out after rainfall. Where they hide for most of the year is very hard to say sometimes. You'll see, it's quite a small giant land snail. You'll suddenly see enormous ones that have probably just secret themselves away in a burrow or somewhere under a bush during the driest times of the year, and as soon as there's rainfall and moisture, out they come to find a mate, to lay eggs, and to continue the cycle, obviously after ingesting and digesting and depositing dung all over the place. Very, very interesting. The shell, imagine being able to move all over the place. There we go. He's popping his eyes out to say hello. Hello. They are such interesting creatures, snails. Being hermaphrodites, generally meaning that they have both male and female parts, but they're not able to fertilize themselves. They need to meet an opposite member of the family so as to transfer sperm between them, and then they will all lay eggs. It's a very, very interesting and strange way of living, is it not? Yes, indeed. To make a very nice mobile home. I quite like living mobile with my vehicle. I've got pretty much everything I need to move around. And, well, that is the snail's life. They move very slowly everywhere they go. They are prone to predation. Ground hornbills really do enjoy ground or giant land snails. And I do believe that they were farmed, actually. Some gentleman, he was probably of French origin, decided to produce escargot for the international market and was farming these guys for export for a food source. But I don't know how well that worked. But they are far bigger than any of the general escargot you will find over in France. Talking about edible food, here we have got the millipedes that are completely unedible. Sally Jane, you want to know if the giant land snails have an odor? I've never really smelt them too closely, to be honest, to see if they are, in fact, any smell. I'm just going to pick him up. It's fine to pick him up now because it's very, very wet everywhere. I'm going to give him a bit of a smell. Nothing. I don't smell anything at all on him. I'm going to put him back down again. Back on his foot. But the millipedes that we've got over here, they are not very tasty or not very edible. They've actually got a form of cyanide inside of them, which makes them very, very poisonous to many an animal. But as we know, there are lots and lots of organisms out here that are able to feed on the millipede, scorpions being one of them, civets being another that thoroughly enjoy them. And, well, the most important ecological role that these individuals play is the breakdown of detritus, so breaking down of organic material, recycling nutrients back into the soil. And they do provide a food source for many an organism. Even though they are poisonous, they are still eaten and enjoyed. And what is also quite interesting is some birds, some tortoises, will also feed on the shells of the millipedes after they have died to gain some form of nourishment in the form of calcium when they are lacking in their diet for their egg production. And interestingly enough as well, with the giant land snail, locals of the Shangaan community used to actually use these old shells in their diet for adding calcium and magnesium to their kids. This shell has obviously still got color, but once these snails die, it desiccates and this white shell easily broken down and put into the diet of youngsters. So I didn't get the name there, Megs, but I believe someone was asking about the difference, but Gabby, the difference between centipedes and millipedes. Well, centipedes are a very crazy looking organism. Let's start with the millipede. The millipede here has got a long barrel-like body. It's generally got thousands of legs, it seems, more than 2 per segment. It's almost difficult to see the legs. There are so many. They look like just a little band of brushes, and their head is round with just 2 small little antennae on them, and they are able to secrete a noxious substance which is poisonous. Centipedes are generally flattened in the body, quite flat. You can clearly see 1 or 2 legs per segment coming through, and on the front they've got 2 long, straight, antennae-like antenna-like objects, and at the back they've got 2 that look very similar, which is actually a venom gland. It's sort of venom's a sting, and both ends look like the head, both ends look like the tail, and they are venomous. You can eat them, but they are venomous, and they're very fast-moving, and they make make your skin crawl when you see them. I don't like them at all. But millipedes curl up into a ball when they are threatened. Here we've actually got two that are busy mating, something that they do when the rain falls. They come and they meet each other, have a bit of a love affair, and then go off again, depositing eggs. Whereas the centipedes are flat on the ground, moving, and you can see the legs moving like this, and they really are quite something else, and they are potentially quite dangerous, and some people can die of a sting from a centipede. Anyway, I'm going to stand up, get back onto our bushwalk, see if we can find any tracks to give sitters any assistance. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but let's go over to him for an update.
There is quite a lot of tracks here where I am. The only problem is they are all fainted. So it's difficult for me to tell as to whether these tracks are very much fresh or they are old tracks. But we are at the right place. So these areas where I am at the moment is the areas where I am hoping for one of these cats. So I am now around the southern side of the tree house dam, but I will be moving much more towards the eastern side. I just want to check the border here to see if they did not cross. Oh, hey, wildebeest here. So you can see that wildebeest, the horns, they are dirty a little bit there because he was fighting the ground, I'm sure, trying to sharpen the horns. The wildebeest has got a gland here on the face. It's a preorbital gland that they are using in order to demarcate their territories. They even got another gland in between their hoofs called the interdigital gland. They scratch the ground and leave it there. Apologies for the pole. We have got the roof this morning as the rain is promising. So these wildebeests, they've got a gland here just in the middle of the front hoofs called the interdigital gland. They scratch the ground and pour it there for demarcation purposes. So they don't only use the urine and droppings for demarcation. So he's just by himself. I think if the lions come here, he will have a problem. As wildebeest, they've got a very poor eyesight. He's looking at us. He's still moving on, going towards the northern side. He's not feeding at all. Maybe now is the time for him to patrol his territory. Their territories keep on changing according to the availability of food. That is why you will see them doing the migration during the dry season. They can be strict in their territories, but only during the breeding season. After the breeding season, they must have to now go congregate and go according to the food availability. That's the daycare tracks here. No cats at the moment. So now let's cross over to David with the sunrise.
I have never known why we got so many wildebeest in East Africa and not in South Africa, because until the other day, the migration was in full swing here, and we had thousands of them. But it's always good to see one or two or few when, you see them in Juma. Now, the sun has gone up here, and the last 4 days, I would say, we have not seen any proper sunrise. This is the first day in a couple of days we are seeing some beautiful sunrise, and that's the eastern horizon, and this makes me feel, so happy and full of joy to see sunrise after not having seen it for a couple of days. Oh, the beautiful colors in the background there as the sun pushes up. April, you're very right. The tree looks like it's painted red. And I would guess, April, of all the many colors you see there, I think red this morning is more conspicuous than all the other colors. I agree with you. That tree, which you call the torchwood tree, which have been used for making fire. Of course, fire will have a lot of red in it when you look at the flame. That makes a lot of sense to say the tree could be painted red. And all the other trees there in the background, many beautiful colors. And if you look carefully, that's very good. There's a balloon maybe way left. I am trying to imagine what the ballooners are seeing of the same sunrise. There's a balloon somewhere there, and I'm sure it was just gliding and watching the sunrise just like us. I think if you pan a little bit to the left, Archie, that's where maybe the hot air balloon is. Excellent. There it is. And I'm sure the ballooners have enjoyed the sunrise just like us. How it feels just to glide there in the air. Always very quiet until the pilot decides to blow some hot air, you know, in the balloon. Using the balloon burners, you hear the zzz, and then it just dies and just goes very quiet when you fly over the Mara Plains or the savannah of the Mara Triangle. Well, I've gotten interrupted 2 times by the lioness that was eating in the sunrise. Shrizan, yes, what happens is when it rains so heavily, it gets waterlogged. And most, I would say, antelopes, including the wildebeest, are not adapted to walk very well when it's muddy. And as I was saying earlier, the geology of the Mara has a lot of black cotton soil, and it gets very soggy and very soft. So every time they step on it, they tend to keep sinking. So they may have to slow down, or not once. We have seen all of them coming to the big roads for them just to move. Yes, you're right. It affects their movement, and they tend to slow down. What beautiful eastern horizon there, or the golden colors you'd think of today. Yellow, red, peach, the color of honey. I'm not sure which honey we are talking about here, or I'm talking about. We've got different colors of honey in the world. A bit of white too. I'm not seeing black, because black maybe most likely would see it on a sunset. Beautiful. I just wish we can get a big, huge elephant walking there in front of the sunrise, or a tall giraffe. But I think those trees there are just making it ideal and making it very picturesque. These are what I call golden moments, when you see the sunrise and the sunset. And I think red and peach, to me, are the colors that are winning on the sunrise. Look at the tree line there. How beautiful is that? You'd imagine seeing this every day in your life, eh? Every day I'm out in the bush. It always gives me a very good start for the morning. Fantastic. I need to move on and hopefully go get my sausages. And between here and there, as I said, I get interrupted. I got interrupted by that one lioness. And now the sunrise, because I had not seen it for a couple of days, I thought I will look at it. Well, we'll take you back to South Africa, to Stivovo, because Stivovo loves talking about trees.
Well, you got me there, David. I do enjoy talking about trees, of course. And when we found another one, we're going to get right into it and see if we can explain it nicely to you. You can see that there's actually some new growth coming off it now. So it's very important that if you do find a tree that is busy growing, that you need to look for some of the older plant elements as well. Because if you take this piece over here, that's all fresh and new, very hard to identify new growth on a tree. If you took this sample home, it would be very hard for me to identify that. But if you took a branch that had some old leaves as well, see here, can you see, is there a similarity between those two? Possibly, but it would be very hard with just this little sample here to identify exactly what tree this is. But once again, we have got a simple leaf. You can see if you look right in here, here is a leaf, and there is a little growing point. That's called the auxiliary bud, and the auxiliary bud is always at the base of the leaf, and that will determine whether this leaf is simple or compound. And I'll explain more about compound in a little while. There's the auxiliary bud, and here is the leaf. So I've got a leaf here. This is an older leaf, and this is a newer leaf. You can see there's a big size difference between them. Now, if I turn them over, you can see that there's a slight difference in color from the top and the bottom. But if I look very closely at both of them, very closely underneath, you'll be able to actually see that there are some hairs underneath there. Can you see them, Craig? Especially the new one. The new one's got lots of hairs on it. The old one, not so many hairs, but along the vein at the bottom here, there's a few little brown hairs there. And once again, we look at the margin. The margin is the side here, and the margin is smooth. And if you look closely at it, you can actually see slight little hairs there. So a simple leaf. It's quite veiny on the top, some nice veins there. Very slight discoloration between the top and the bottom. The margin is smooth. There's no thorns in the tree. You can do that if you want to, or sometimes you can just use your eyes to have a look. And then what I'm going to do lastly is I'm going to check what it tastes like. It's very bitter. Very, very bitter. And this plant uses tannin, which I'm tasting, to protect itself. That's why there are no thorns. It is growing pretty much just above the drainage line. We're not far away from the dry riverbed. And the growth form at the moment is nothing too much to report because it's not a very big tree. There's nothing too much to talk about the bark. But this is indeed the hairy or the Natal guarri. So, oh, look what we got here. Beautiful caterpillar who clearly is enjoying himself on the tree. So the Natal guarri is one of the guarri species that we have here. And they are not very well eaten by most animals when they are older. But when the plants are new and fresh, they do definitely get eaten. And the tannins are there to protect them against insects. Generally, the insects will avoid eating too high tannin-rich plants, but not exclusively. It doesn't completely exclude animals from eating them. As you can see, there are some caterpillars on here at the moment. I don't know what species, but he is enjoying the nice fresh greenness on the outside. And we know all of the cuckoos have flown down to South Africa to feed on these specific insects. One of these days, we're going to be eating insects for our lifestyle. It is a very good camouflage, Linda, very, very good camouflage. And that's why our birds, when they jump through a little bush like this, we call it gleaning. They'll jump through the bush, moving from side to side with their head to be able to spot these very camouflaged caterpillars on the branches. And they do develop a search image, and they are able to then, after a period of time, identify food sources on these leaves. But we were standing here for a good minute before we spotted him. Michelle, chameleons don't, that I know of, eat caterpillars. I could be completely mistaken, but they are known to eat sort of insects that moving around, that are quite visible to the eye. Flies, beetles, dragonflies, things that are kind of moving. It's possible that they'll move through a bush and feed on a slow-moving caterpillar, but I've never seen that. Never ever seen that. They use their very long tongue to explode out and catch an unsuspecting prey animal, be it a grasshopper, be it a fly, be it a dragonfly. They're very efficient in that. But who knows? Caterpillars might form part of the diet. Butterflies probably do. Egyptian geese are shouting in the background. So that is the hairy guarri, and very easy to identify versus other counterparts that we have out here. And we'll show you another one in a while. And the guarri, both of the guarris, the Natal and the hairy, are very good for dealing with all sorts of tummy problems that you might have. Because, you know, if there's a problem in your tummy, you need to sort that out. Well, we're going to continue on. We are nearly towards the hyena den site to go and see what's going on at the Djuma den. Why have there been no hyenas seen for the last few days? And maybe we'll be able to track down where exactly they've gone to. They might have left us a little note saying we've gone somewhere for Christmas, which is probably what's happened. Probably not. But I haven't seen the Djuma clan since being back. And when last did you see them, Pat?
2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3 weeks they haven't been seen. So who knows? Who knows exactly where they are? But we're not far from the den site. Maybe we'll have a John Doe note or something like that. But anyway, let's go back over to Sydney, see if he's had any luck finding any of the cats.
There is no luck yet here where I am. I am checking the tracks everywhere. I just want to quickly get off the vehicle. Oh, I think there is some updates now. And Rex coming. Oh, I used the wrong radio. I've got a Rex coming. So I just hear the updates that there's an animal which is crossing to Torchwood now. I just want to confirm here from the sender. I will get the updates. I think they are still busy talking about other things here. Oh, there's some tracks just for the porcupine going down that way. So the weather when it's like this, these animals, they walk long distances. So we might find that is one of the cats we are looking for going towards that side. Yeah, Rexen coming. Rexen, just confirm what cross towards the Torchwood. Okay, copy that, thank you. So it's just the leopard tracks. So, but not too sure which leopard is it. So I'm just gonna go around the Buffalo's Walk. During the sunny days, it's very much difficult. You can do trekking much better in the mornings when it's sunny, but when the sun is at 12 o'clock, the tracks are too bright and you can't see when the sun is too bright. So it's difficult to tell. Also late afternoon is good to trek, but now during the overcast it's much better. The problem is if the ground is wet, because when the moisture is too much on the ground, it keeps the tracks to look fresher all the time. Even when it's old, it's going to look fresh. So it's going to disturb you too much when it comes to the judgment as to whether the animal was here just now or it has been there for a while. So there's quite a lot of tracks for the other vehicles in the area here. We are not alone looking for these cats, I can see. Everybody wants to see these leopards. So now let's cross over to Steve, who's got the elephants on foot.
Yes, we do have elephant on foot. We're going to be very quiet. There's no wind. We're going to see if we can get a view of him there. Looks like a big elephant bull. Right here by the secondary hyena den site. There's another one over there. There's a second one just under there. Looks to be... And there's a hyena. Craig can see a hyena as well. Okay, so there is a hyena here. If you come a little bit more around, Craig, there you'll get him coming across the screen. There we go. It's about to come into the open on the right now. Right of that now. In the open there. So it seems like the Djuma clan is around. This is the secondary den site that I believe they've been using. And there are 2 elephant bulls slowly feeding around it. No air movement. Well, very gentle. Very, very special to be able to spend time with these giants on foot. And hyena in the same shot. Well done, Craig. So, we're not going to go any closer than that. We don't have too much in the way of cover here, so give those bulls their room in their space. We might move around a little bit to the right there to see if we can get another view of them, but sometimes just the slightest of views through some thick branches is all that you need. You don't have to see this beautiful photographic image of an elephant. Just being within meters of them on foot is always very special. Yeah, they've been doing some digging. There we go. It's actually quite a nice view of him now, Craig. Isn't that special? Just by the size you can tell it's a male. He's just far bigger than the females. A fair amount of elephant around at the moment. They're really enjoying the vegetation, the green leaves, the grasses. It's been a very long dry season. Hey, we've got the hyena again, Grego. There she is at the base of the mound. Not too concerned with the elephants. Sure, Megs, let's invite some more people on board. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Greater Kruger National Park. We have encountered 2 big elephant bulls on foot next to a hyena den site. There's 1 hyena in attendance at the moment. We were coming to see where they've been. We haven't seen them in a few weeks, and now, well, we were attracted to the elephant, and, well, 1 hyena's decided to show herself. We've had some rain yesterday and early this morning. Please feel free to send any questions and comments through below. We'd love to hear from you. It's a very nice, cool morning in Djuma Private Game Reserve after a week of very hot summer conditions. Paula, it's unlikely that a hyena would ever attack an elephant. If a young elephant, maybe... Good morning, my name is Steve and I'm joined by Craig on camera. You just see the hyenas now lying down over there, but hyenas would, if they were able to isolate a very small elephant calf from the herd, they most certainly would have a go. But there's no chance of them having a go at big elephants, no chance at all. An injured one, a wounded one, one that's maybe half dead, well, invariably they would definitely clean up the mess, but they don't have the potential to kill them. That's for sure. I've never even really seen elephants respond negatively to hyena. To lion they do. Lion are well known for taking young elephants isolated. But hyena being the opportunistic... Yeah, sorry, Ellen, I've never seen them chase hyenas, so I don't think they dislike them that badly. Then they can smell them. They just know, hyena. up here. Well, down here in Juma, hyena don't have the greatest reputation. In the Mara, though, they're far more formidable. Well, we're going to move up a little bit more, see if we can get another view. Interesting to see if we can get a two-shot. Come with us, nice and close. We are on foot in the African wilds. It is a beautiful morning. Never too late. It's not necessarily dangerous to be around hyena on foot. We are grown adults. There's more than one of us. We're not injured in any way. If I was on my own with an injury, maybe lost, dehydrated, then essentially hyena could become a problem because they can tell weakness. They can tell when something's not right. Okay, so there's definitely cubs at the den site there, Craigo. I've just seen 2 sub-adults. There we go. Yay, we found the Juma den. The clan is available. There's a couple of youngsters there, one on the top. So if I was injured or maybe dehydrated or lost in the wilderness, I would probably start being followed by a hyena who would eventually take me out when I lost the will to fight. Clans of hyena can be potentially dangerous to someone on foot, but we are, as I said, fully grown, strong adults, no threat. We have no threat to hyena at this stage, but if you are lost, you're struggling to find water, and you sit down for too long a period, hyena can become a problem. There's having a little bit of a bite. We are very excited as well, folks. I haven't seen any of these youngsters. I've been up in the Mara for the last 3 months, and I can't believe how big these ones are. I don't know the identification. We're a little bit far away. But seemingly they don't even know that we're here, which is very interesting. Got 2 youngsters there that are more than 3 months, probably 4 or 5 months at the most. And I will just say it is an adult. And anyway, folks, we have successfully found the hyena den site on Juma with 2 elephant bulls in tow. We are having a marvellous morning out on this cool morning. Thank you for joining us for this quick, short little broadcast. We'd love to see you more. We are still live on YouTube, so just Google Safari Live. We'll see you then. But for now, thank you and goodbye. Okay, well, we're looking at a little greeting ceremony there between the one adult and the youngsters. She's probably been out of the den for some time, and now it's time to reaffirm some bonds. Gregor on the left there, there's another youngster just popping out of the hole. Can you see that? The 3rd youngster there, a little bit younger than these 2. Fantastic to see. But anyway, we're going to probably move on from our hyena because, well, spending too much time with them on foot here, we don't want to scare them in any way. They haven't seen us yet, but in the meantime, let's go back over to Sydney.
Quite a lot of hyena tracks as well here where I am on my way to the Buffelshoek Dam. I'm standing by sand. Sydney, I'm standing by sand. I am so the guided walks are looking for me. Maybe there is some updates on some of the fresh tracks. Herbert come in. Ascend. So I'm just trying to get the updates from Herbert. He just called me earlier on. I didn't copy that. I repeat again. Just confirm the location of the den. They've just reallocated the den. This is good news. I haven't seen those hyenas for quite a while. It would be great to visit them. I'll go and see if we can find them. So the elephant has just been here. A lot of evidence on the road and on the sides here. So they are just defecating a lot on the road. And that is going to jeopardize the dung beetles. Because dung beetles, they like to also feed underneath these droppings. And there is some ingot tracks, fresh ingot tracks. So maybe now I can say things are promising. A giraffe girl, I didn't copy your question nicely. Giraffe girl, it was not confirmed if it was a male or the female, but there is some other tracks, fresh tracks, which has just been discovered now somewhere around the tree house dam area where we have been earlier on. Somewhere in one of those roads, there's tracks that has been found now. I just want to now try and go and give them a hand there. After helping them to see if we can find this leopard, then we will visit the hyena den. So I can see here where I am, there is no evidence at all. So these animals are much more towards that area, quarantine, as well as the treehouse dam area. That block there is where things are happening at the moment. No buffalo tracks for some days now. We haven't seen them for a while. So they must be having better grazing somewhere much more towards the Buffalo area, because they're not coming this side anymore. Maybe it's because of too much water available. So you can hear some of the lanes. Not in, that's just normal. So an alarm call sounds different. A lot when we out activities. Always form something here. finish line.
Good morning everybody and welcome. My name is Patrick. I have swapped over with Stivovo on the bushwalk, so we still have Craig on camera. Now I was about to do a little lesson with some leaves and trees, but on the way we came across this little specs-hinged tortoise. Now I was almost caught off guard. I almost said it was a leopard tortoise because I just saw the coloration of it and made a quick guess, but after closely examining it we can definitely see that it is a specs-hinged. It starts to poke its head out there. So the main difference between the leopard tortoise and the specs-hinged is the shape of the shell. So the shell is quite flattened in this. Oh, it's coming towards the camera. This is great. If only we had a hare to compare with, the tortoise and the hare. So yeah, so back to what I was saying, the shape of the shell, this one's quite a bit flatter. The leopard tortoise has a bit of a dome shaped, and it actually has more spots than the patterns that this one has here. So it's great to see some tortoises around. It is a little remnant of the marine environment. Andy, yes, we are getting charged. We are getting charged. What a fearful, fearful charge this is. I'm struck with absolute fear at what this thing could do. But they do say tortoises are quite slow, but seeing them on the move, they're actually not that bad. They cover pretty big distances to find water. And as I was saying, yeah, remnants of the marine environment. If anyone did watch me on Dive Live, you would have noticed all of the time we spent with our sea turtle characters. And these guys, well, they're not that far off. So they are testudines. They are related to turtles, sea turtles, and of course the terrapins that we also get here. Chris, I don't think he could bite my finger off. He could give it a try, but I don't think he would get very far. They do have somewhat powerful jaws for their size, but definitely not enough to inflict any real sort of damage on me. Well, looks like this one wants to find a little bit of a spot of refuge, so let me take you back to what I was originally going to show. If you follow me over this way, I have got a few leaves here, because earlier on Steve did tell you a little bit about simple and complex leaves, or compound leaves, should I say. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit what a simple and what a compound leaf is. So a simple leaf, we have a white berry bush here, and we can see, if we look right at the bottom here of the petiole is this bit connecting the leaf to the stem, we can see that there's a little structure there. That is called a stipule. And at this site as well, we also look for an apical bud, which sits at the base of the petiole, and that tells us that it is a simple leaf because there is something at the base of the petiole. Where if we go to a compound leaf over here, this isn't actually just the leaf. This is what we call a leaflet, or in this case a pinnule, because it is bipinnately compound. Now, what a compound leaf is, and I'll get into bipinnate a little bit later, but what a compound leaf is it's made up of a lot of smaller sections. So if we look at this entire area here, we won't see the bud or the stipule at the base of these petioles connecting here. We won't see that. we'll see it down here at the base. So that indicates that this entire section here is one leaf. And then it will grow these little leaflets there, or pinnules. Linda, yes, the heart shapes of these leaves are really good. This is a black monkey thorn that we are looking at here, Senegalia burkii, and it is, oh, sorry, it's a knob thorn, sorry.
Very similar.
Yeah, so this is a knob thorn, which is Senegalia nigrescens. So they are very similar. They do have these thorns, but the leaves are different. They're a lot smaller in the black monkey thorn. So that's how you tell the difference. And then we actually have two somewhat related plants here. So these are both what were traditionally known as the acacias until us Australians stole that from the South Africans, so we do apologise. But now they are categorised kind of based on their thorns. So this one is what we call a Vechilia, and it's got these long straight spines coming out there. Whereas this one is a Senegalia, so the genus has been split up, and we can see that this has got hook in the thorns. So with the knob thorn and the black monkey thorn, you'll see that. And with most of the other acacias that we get here, you'll get the straight thorns, like the Vechilia. Well, I hope everybody learned a little bit from my lesson here. The class is now adjourned. Let's send you over to Sydney, who's got some elephants.
I've got the very big female elephant here at the moment, feeding just on grasses. And there's a baby, and this baby is not looking healthy. Apologies for the poll. It's not active at all. And you can even see the ribs there when it's closer. You can see that baby is also full of mud. Doesn't even have a tail, the baby. So now the baby is hiding right in front of the mother. So the elephants can be very protective when these babies are still very young. So that is caused by the long period of pregnancy, which is up to 22 months. So they don't want anything after that 22 months to come near their babies. Kalina, I hope so too. Maybe this little baby will recover anytime soon. But I still just want to check what happened to the tail, because it doesn't have a tail at all. You can see the baby's having some leaves at the moment. So they've got to learn how to use that trunk when they're still very young. Mrs. Lapwing, the gestation period of an elephant is about 22 months. You can see that elephant does not have a tail, the little one. So this elephant is now doing some communication below our hearing, and below this other one's hearing. I can hear that they are talking now, make use of the vibrations. I just hear that just now. So there is more other elephants who are on the side here, by the opposite side. So now I am going to carry on and see if we can find the cats. Now the little one looks much better. You can see that it's nice and clear to see that little one from here. Chili pepper, the baby will be fine without a tail. So the thing is, we're not sure what exactly happened, because that tail there, it does serve purpose when it comes to the chasing away of flies. That's why if you can check, the elephant doesn't have a lot of hairs that you can see, but if you look at the tail, the tail has got quite a lot of hair. You can see that the adult, the mother has got a very hairy tail. Look at that. So it works. Look, you can see that the little one doesn't have anything at all. So now the little one will survive. I am not too sure about the problem, because now that the tail is off, and then we can see that the ribs we can see and everything. Maybe when the little one lost the tail is what caused the problem. Maybe the injury when little one lost the tail is what made the little one to lose weight as we are looking at the moment. So now I'm just going to pull forward so that we can try to get to that area where they have spotted the leopard tracks and carry on looking for the leopards. So I'm sure this herd is not traveling long distances, because when the little one is on that kind of a condition, it does restrict the movement of the adults. So now let's cross over to David in the Masai Mara, who is after the lions.
Well, I have finally gotten to the Sausage Republic. Now my only job is to look now for the sausages or for the lions that live in this particular territory. But before then, I found these very huge antelopes that we call elands, which I'm sure we all know they are the largest antelopes we got in the world. Very majestic. Many times when we see the migration, we'll always see them together, the wildebeest and the zebras, and we'll see some elands following them. The very old ones, especially the males, when you hear them walking, you might hear some click sound on their knees, or in their knees rather, which sometimes is always because of the territorial males. Huge antelopes they are. One is getting a little irritated by some ox because see they go flicking their ears there. Always go in big herds. The times you could see even 100 together. Not sure, there's so many flies at the moment. They're flicking their tails. That could be the dominant male, the way he keeps putting his nose up, maybe after sniffing some females, smelling something up there. Call that grimacing. Curls the nose and picks whatever he wants, and maybe that helps him to know if there could be any female that is fertile in the herd. Ray, you'd like to know the word for eland in Swahili. There's a general name that we say swara, but I'll be getting you the actual name. But swara is the general name that we have for all the antelopes around here. But I'll definitely be getting you the exact name at one point today. We have all or many types of antelopes here, and each of them will have individual name, but the general name for these antelopes will always say swara. The toppies in the background there, and you can see how small the toppies are comparing them to the elands. Hello, it's having a toilet break there, the one in the middle. Sally, you're asking, can antelopes develop arthritis? I'm not sure for a fact, but what I know, elands, as they get old, just like, you know, sometimes human beings, the cartilages or the tendons in the knees will wear. Like when you sit down and try to rise up and you hear some like clicking sound. Elands, I know they do that. They have that, and especially more for males. But arthritis, not sure. But my guess, Sally, would be yes. But that is a guess. I mean, it depends on what would bring or cause arthritis. Not sure also what causes it in human beings. But I would guess it's possible. But I have not seen, because whenever I see human beings or someone will tell me I got arthritis, they'll always struggle to walk, and maybe the issues mainly is on the joints. I'm not sure, Sally, I've seen any animals struggling to walk out here. So maybe my answer could be half yes and maybe half no. Because if to get to the joints, I'm imagining the wrists or the ankles or the knees. But all the animals here will just keep walking nicely. Jeff, you'd like to know why they have that extra skin on their neck. And that extra skin on their neck is called a dewlap. And the males will have a bigger dewlap than the females. Like the one you're watching there at, you know, in the back, at the back there, that's a male. And as I was saying earlier, Jeff, the males are a little bit grayish or darkish in color than the females, and it has been believed that dewlap would help them to thermoregulate the heat. So the dewlap there helps them to cool off. So, and especially in the very arid areas, unlike in the Mara where the temperatures are generally not very high, if you go further north of Kenya and you see elands, they believe that skin that we call dewlap below their necks is for thermoregulation. You can tell, or you can see how big they are, very massive. But apparently, regardless of how big they are, from a standing point, they have been known to jump up to 4 feet high. They are huge, but should they get worried of something, they can easily go up to 4 feet high. And you have seen them doing that, especially when they see snakes or when they get chased by lions. With the migration now gone back to Serengeti, the lions have been left hunting now this big prey, elands, buffaloes, and when they're running away, they jump very high. James, I would want to believe they make vocalization, and I cannot tell you which one, James. And, you know, as you would like to know whether they make any vocalization, I would say yes, I haven't had any, but I would want to believe all animals will vocalize. Maybe very softly, but I'm sure they vocalize, James. But I cannot tell you the last I had a vocalization from the elands. The only one I know as much as that's not from the mouth is the click sound of saying, in my village, James, when we would go out and it was so dark and we were walking back home or going to our next village, we could very easily tell those were elands passing because you'd hear the click sound from their knees. And also that happens, or it's very conspicuous more in the males that are dominant in the herd than the rest of the males. Well, this is the Sausage Republic for me. I need to move around and find out where these sausages could be. Very good. All right. I think Sydney have one favorite animal. I'm surprised, and it's a pretty small one, and it's some kind of insect. Let's go to him, and he's going to show us what his favorite animal is.
There is a very big fight here at the moment on the ground. You can see the dung beetles are chasing each other. They are fighting for the ball. Look at that. Look at that. So this is interesting. Look at that. The one which is on top now was on the ground. Now is on top. The other one is coming. This is a big fight. So you can see that some are lazy to start their own balls and they come and steal. Look at that. The other one doesn't want to come off. This is a big fight. Let's see who's going to win here. So the dung beetles are very interesting animals, and is the only insect animal which has been navigating, the first one to navigate, make use of the Milky Way. So you can see that this other one who is on top is so powerful. This is a big fight. I've never seen something like this before. I've seen dung beetles fighting, but not much longer than this. So I think this fight is so interesting, and it will be great to share this fight with the other people from different social media platforms. Look at that. I have got a very interesting fight here, and welcome to the beginning of a special broadcast. This is Sydney Fumulan Mikosi. I am with the dung beetles, and these dung beetles are fighting, and this has been a very big fight as they've been here for a while. I am right at the western side of the Greater Kruger National Park, Sabisand Juma Game Reserve, and that is the one who is, I think, dominating as he is moving away the ball, and I'm not too sure who started the ball first amongst these two, as the one who is moving away is the one who came and he managed to defeat the other. It's moving away, so now I'm just going to reverse and see if maybe they're still going to follow each other. Maybe they will be able to reallocate each other again, but I think the one who is moving very fast, so they can be able to fly. Connie, that is true. Dung beetles are so very much interesting, and some of them has got an ability to fly like these ones. Maybe the one on the ground who is left behind is going to fly and follow that one. So these insects, they are very much interesting, and they are so beneficial to the human beings because it's the ones who help us in order to prepare the soil for seeds germination. In order to get all these trees and grasses, they have got to fertilize the soil first. So you can see that one gave up. Maybe he wants to start his own ball at the moment, and he is bringing us to the end of the very special broadcast, and thank you very, very much for all your questions and comments. So now let's quickly go to Pat, who's got something interesting.
Welcome back, class. I hope you enjoyed your recess. So we are back here with some trees. I did have a little bit more that I wanted to talk to you about. First and foremost, I did want to apologise. The two we are looking at right now, I did mix up earlier. So on the right here, we have a Bushman's grape. We can tell that because of the simple leaves and these vine-like tendrils coming out there. And then this is a white berry bush. I did call the Bushman's grape a white berry bush, and that was a genuine mistake. It was just, I think, the grape berry type situation that I got mixed up there. Now, as I was saying earlier, I was going to talk to you about bipinnate and pinnately compound leaves. So I did say what simple leaf was and what a compound leaf was, but there's different types of compound leaves. So we have a marula here, and I'm just going to take a little bit off here. So this right here is a really good example of a compound leaf. I can tell it's a compound leaf because there's no stipules and no buds at any of the bases of these petioles here. So the bits connecting to the branch. But there is stipules down here at this end. So this entire thing is one leaf, and these are the leaflets, and this is pinnately compound because we just have the one leaf coming off here. But if we come to this flaky thorn here, I'm just going to do it again where I pull a little bit off. Sit that there. So this is bipinnately compound. And so this entire bit is a leaf, and this is where the stipule and buds will sit. And it's bipinnate because it's coming off, it's almost as if it's split in two. So if we look at this marula here, we just have the one section. Whereas with this one, we have the two sections coming off here, and these are called pinnules rather than leaflets. So that's just a basic crash course in simple compound and the types of compound leaves. There is also one last type of leaf which is called digitately compound, and that is where all of the petioles meet at the same point. So a good example of this would be perhaps a hemp leaf, where all of the bits kind of join up in the middle, and that is what we call a digitately compound leaf. So I hope you all learned something from that. Let's continue on. James, my favourite animal to view on foot? Probably elephants. They're so huge, and I mean, seeing them from the car is really great, but to be on foot and just look at how big they are, to really see it from your own perspective, is absolutely amazing. I've also seen Hosanna on foot, which is great as well because he's such a placid animal. He's really not concerned by humans, and we had a good solid sighting with him. So those are my two favourite sightings so far on foot, but there is also many more to come. I've only been on a few bushwalks, and these obviously are my first bushwalk segments, so I still have a lot of experience and a lot to learn while I am out here on foot, and I'm really, really enjoying it. Enough about me, let's go back to Sidders, who is also in Juma.
This is not the dung beetle we saw earlier on, but this was also involved on a fight with the very same dung beetle which has been defeated earlier. So that dung beetle came here and he managed to defeat this one. He took the title for a little bit. After that, he lost the title again and he was chased away. So this one you can see is done now. He's just moving his ball to a safe place. He's checking directions. So this is the strongest insect. and he can be able to push something which is more than 1,140 something kilograms. So that is not kilograms, 1,140 something times his body weight. That is quite a lot if you can check compared to the other big animals. Because the other animals, yes, they are powerful, but they cannot pull something which is over 1,000 multiplied by their body weight. So now let's again have a look on what the dung beetle has been doing on a fight. So you can see they are so powerful. How the one on top is pushing the other one, you can see that they're grabbing with the hind legs on the ball while the front legs are every time they against the ball, and the front legs are pushing the other one. The head is shoveling as well. They've got a lot of strength. They are so powerful. So it is their time now, the dung beetles, when they can easily drill and the balls. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara. I will be looking for the leopards much more around the tree house them again.
And not sure I knew those are you. It's good because just like elephants, dung beetles are some of the insects that will always be doing something. Sorry about my driving, it's got nothing to do. It's just because the surface of the road now is very slippery, and that's because of the black cotton soil that's here. When it rains, that's the conditions that you get. Well, I've done about 25% of the area that I would have wanted to look for the sausages. Haven't seen them as yet. So what I'm thinking now is to go to the lagers, because there's a whole small little valleys, and they have sometimes some holes or some big rocks in there where these lions could be keeping their cubs a little warm. The sausage pride, for those who have never joined us before, have 5 females, and 2 of those females have cubs. One has 2 cubs and the other one has 1 cub. So, and I think because of the rain and still very cold, they may want to keep them in some nice warm places to avoid them getting any infection, be it maybe flu or some kind of cold. I was here 3 days ago. I didn't see any of the females. I just saw 2 of the males that have formed the coalition around this area that we call the Oldonyo Pike males. There's so many rats now on the road because of the rains, so you only have to stay right in the middle of the road. Once in a while you try to come out and the car just goes zigzag. Chris, you're right, but I'll tell you what, you see, it's hard. I enjoy this kind of driving. It gives me a lot of joy. The only thing, Chris, I know I will not get stuck. We've got some toppies ahead of me trying to run. I don't know where they're going to. And earlier we saw one toppie that was brought down by the Olololos. So I want to see if these toppies could be looking any particular. You can see all the water, Chris, on the road there, and it tells you how muddy and soggy this area is. I wanted to come here last night, but when I found out, or when I saw the rains, I thought, well, I'll give it a chance in the morning, but not in the afternoon, because things tend to work a lot easier during the day should you get stuck or something happens. But late afternoons or evenings, as darkness falls, if you get stuck, it might take a long time for you to be rescued. So 2 topics there, and I'm sure the oops, are you going to have a go on each other? Not really. Some of the most beautiful antelopes we got in Africa, with all the different colors. Grew like that, you'll have the colors of topi, and it have a bit of grayish, a bit of brown on it. It's got like 3 different tones of color, which makes them look pretty unique. Not any other antelopes that I know of that will look like topis here in Africa. And this reminds me of the sesebes. Their cousins could be sesebes that you'd see in South Africa. Well, I'll just move on now because I need to look at all these sluggers and find out where these lions could be. 2 times I've been here, as I said, and just saw the males without the females. And I think this could be the lucky day. The only thing is I need to keep on the big road and avoid going off the road, not to get stuck. Once in a while that happens, and it's always fun to try to push the car, and you get all the mud spinning and you look a different person at the end of it all. Well, sausages, we are here and we just need you to show up. Paula, a good question, and always a pleasure to hear your name, Paula. And don't forget, I still have your shuka on. I would say my favorite animal is the eland. Let's just have a quick look at these 2 topics here. I would say my favorite animal is the eland, because there are certain areas where eland, the females, people have been able to get milk from eland. And not far from my village, we had a neighboring village where the old men would go and get milk. If ladies would have babies and they would have issues with breastfeeding, they used to tell us, I never saw it myself, they would go and get some elands and they would tie their legs and milk them, like how people milk cows, Paula. And even today, they still say the milk from eland is much nutritious than cow milk. I don't know how true that is. But Paula, the elands are my favorite. And again, when you see elands walking, I think they're the most majestic animals to watch as they walk. And the very old ones, when you hear them clicking, you know, hopefully these topies, you might hear a bit of click on their horns. When you hear the old ones walking in the darkness, Paula, you hear something like that, you know. Not sure also about this, but also our great-grandparents used to tell us the meat from the eland of all the antelopes in Africa was the best. Well, luckily that's not being done today. People are not hunting any more wildlife, but of all the antelopes, they used to say the best fillet steak came from the elands. Well, Paula, I would say I've given you quite a number of reasons why I think the eland is my favorite antelope. Calcic, yes, the hartebeest, the wildebeest, and the topis are closely related. And also, if you look at the shapes of their horns, they have a lot in common. Calcic, these 2 want to have a little fight for going for each other. I also want to identify Calcic if they are males or not, because, yeah, I would guess both of them are males there. And definitely they're having a wonderful time, not actually fighting, but I think they're quite entertaining Calcic for us to see in the morning. And I would say Calcic, the hartebeest, and the topis are more closely related than maybe the wildebeest. Of course, all of them being antelopes. Did you stop, or did you see something interesting for us? Well, not really. I need to move on and hopefully see whether I can get these sausages out of where they are hiding. I saw the two males. The males are a lot easier to spot because they are big in size, and especially their mane when they're walking in such a nice open area. The females, especially if they go flat because of the cubs, it could be tricky to spot them. But again, you never know. They could also be very close to the road. If that's the case, why not? Still driving carefully and staying on the big road, not going off-road. But the good thing is, if you go off-road on the grass, that is fine. But what we do, we'll always go off-road, driving on the grass, if we have a confirmed sighting of a cat. Without then, we'll always have to stick to the road. So you can see all the amount of water in this particular area. And if the rains continue, this area might be a no-go zone for quite a number of weeks until maybe the rains subside. Sydney is working very hard maybe to get us a leopard at one point today. Sydney, is that true?
You are right, David. I am trying by all means here in order to get my viewers to see a leopard this morning. And I've been to almost everywhere in the game reserve. The tracks, fresh tracks, has been spotted somewhere around the Shibamu Junction, which is where I am heading to at the moment. I want to see those tracks by myself and take it from there. So, and the rain is also starting to come back slowly. So the two leopards has been spotted yesterday, Hosanna and Tingana. They are in this area. So it's just that the bush is very thick, but they are in this area. So Hosanna was spotted during the night, Tingana was spotted in the morning. And not very far away from each other. And as usual, if one of them got killed, the other one pay a visit. They are indeed playing some hide and seek at the moment. But I'll find them, or I might find one of them. So they like to hide on top of the termite mound these days, because the bush is thick, they want to see far. So Tingana is not sowing. The last time I heard him sowing, it was yesterday morning. This morning I didn't hear anything. Nina Mu, the reason why the hyenas got to change dens is that the little ones, when they're staying at the same place, sometimes the predators, they discover the dens, predators such as the wild dogs. When they come to the hyena den, they eat the cubs. And apart from that, when they are staying in the same hole all the time, they will get the fleas. When there is fleas infestation, they must have to move them. Also, the development of the scent that the little ones are staying in they have to take them out because they know that once the scent is starting, then it's going to let everybody to know that they are hiding their babies in there. So that's why every time they move these little ones for safety purposes. Andy, the termite mound can support a very big weight. I am not too sure of the proven scientific amount of weight, but I have seen the elephants climbing the termite mound and feed from standing on top of the termite mound without causing any damage. So a termite mound is well constructed. So those little insects are so clever, and they use their saliva and their droppings in order to compact the soil. So it's not easy to destroy it. It's very hard. Elephants which can weigh over 5,000 kilograms, if they can climb the termite mound, you can see that that structure is very strong. Still no tracks here where I am. So I just want to now check the southern side of the quarantine. Maybe this area has got something for us. So tracking leopards can be so frustrating sometimes. So now let's cross over to David, who is looking for the lions this morning.
Well, Sydney, thank you, but no luck as yet, no luck as yet, and this is exactly what happens to us when we are here in the wilderness. We'll always come hoping and expecting, and then things do not turn out as you'd wish. But again, you never know. It's always sometimes very unpredictable. And this is the one particular area I expected to see those lionesses or those girls that I've not seen for the last couple of days, and they're nowhere to be seen. But this is their territory, this is their home turf, and they never allow any other lions in this particular area. But again, the whole idea is just to keep looking until you're satisfied you have combed the whole general area. I mean, rather tricky to watch them out. Well, to know your name is just like my name. I'm not sure you know that. We share a name, which is pretty cool. Now, the Mara Triangle is about 510 square kilometers. That's the acreage, that's the size of the Mara Triangle. And then the other side of the Mara, combined is about 1,000, and combined together is about 1,510 square kilometers. I'm sure, David, many times you've heard of us talking of the Mara Triangle and wondered what we are talking about. The Mara is a huge area as general as game reserve, but it's divided into two for management. I want to show you an escarpment which is part of the boundary that forms the Mara Triangle, and I'm going to show you why we call it the Mara Triangle. And when you think of a triangle, David, it has three sides, and one of the sides is what you see there in the front, and that is called the Olololo escarpment. If you ever saw the movie Out of Africa, it featured very prominently there. That's the Uluru Escarpment. And the other side of the boundary of the Mara Triangle is the boundary between Kenya and a country called Tanzania. And then the third arm, or the third side of the triangle, is the Mara River. So that's the shape of like, so what we just saw there was the Uluru Escarpment here, and this is the boundary between Kenya and Tanzania, and maybe behind me will be the Mara River. So that area is 510 square kilometers. All right, that's what we talk about when we are saying the Mara Triangle. But the whole area in general, or the Greater Mara, is about 1,500 square kilometers. Well, I'm going to go to a different area and look for these cats that are not here where I am. And Jeff, the closest concrete road from here, you'll be surprised. I'm talking about 150 kilometers. That should be the closest concrete road. I would say the smallest little township. If you Google the map of Kenya, look for a small little town called Narok. That's what you would call our city, 50 kilometers from here, or more or less 90, 100 miles from where we are. So most of the roads are always rough or dirt road, but they're very firm, so we really get stuck, and we always manage to drive on them. But you need, of course, a very good solid car like this one. The small cars do not make it, and most cars should be four-wheel drive, otherwise they would easily get stuck, get broken, because certain areas have very big boulders and little potholes and what we call corrugation, where the car goes like this. So if the suspension is not very good, it's very easy to break it. We have seen so many people thinking, well, Masai Mara is not very far from Nairobi, you're going to go visit, and they put their families inside the car, small little car, small children, and along the way, they break down, and you're like, it's very difficult to help you people. So you need to get a car like this, or better still, Land Cruiser. But best cars for the Mara are four-wheel drives. So I have to get a new plan now and go to a new area, because the sausages, they move a lot, and especially now that the wildebeest are gone, chances are they could be following a herd of buffaloes or a herd of elands like what I saw before. But this has been their domain for the last couple of, I would say, months. The particular lag I was pointing out to the left, they have been here for a very long time. We had so many wildebeest in this area and zebras, but since they have left, they definitely also have to move to new areas to look for food. They just brought down a huge male buffalo exactly where I am. I want to show you that skeleton, if you get it. Well, it's not there at the moment. Most likely the hyenas came for it and decided to deal with it. And let's go back to Pat and hear what he got about botany.
Well, if you were to walk past this and not have any real knowledge of what was going on, you would not know what was happening. You'd think maybe a meteorite hit or something. There's quite a bit of damage and destruction done here, but alas, it is animal-made. So we have a variable bush willow in front of us, and we can see that the roots have been broken up and very much dug into. And this is actually done by an elephant. So elephants will use their tusks and their feet and their trunks to get in and under and uproot plants, snap out the roots and take themselves a nutritious meal. Now, do I think this was done recently? I do not think so at all. It is the wet season now, or the rainy season in summer here, so we are getting a lot of rainfall at the moment. So that means that there's a lot of green leaves, there's a lot of fresh shoots, a lot of nutrients to feed upon without having to dig under the ground and get up a root. So they'll do this in the dry season when there is a bit of a lack of these fresh new growths. So their diet in the wet season will consist mostly of the plants. They will graze as well, so they are browsers and grazers. So it will be the fresh plants and the trees and the grasses. Whereas in the dry season, food is a lot more scarce. So they have to dig up these roots, like this one here, and use this or the bark of trees, woody plants. I think it's about, in the dry season, about 85 to 90% of their diet will consist of wooded plants, where it goes to only about 40 or 50 in the wet season. So there is a marked shift in their diet. You'll also see that in their dung as well. So their dung will change colour over the seasons. It will become a lot wetter. So there's a big change in diet that we see in the seasons. Moving on, I'm enjoying this leisurely stroll through the bush this morning. It's been nice to actually get out of the car, stretch the legs and get some fresh air. Also, you really get to stop and see the little things and really notice what's going on. You can really start to piece together the ecosystem as a whole rather than just looking for these leopards and the big animals. David, did I know that porcupines can chew on? Yes, so you'll quite often see porcupines digging around. So they are trying to dig up some shoots and some roots. So yes, that is right, David. I haven't actually seen a porcupine out here yet. That is one of the few animals that I really want to see that I am yet to see out here. Obviously we get the echidna back in Australia, which is very similar. They are in fact a monotreme though, so they're not as closely related. Very similar animals though. So monotremes also include the platypus, another iconic Australian animals. Well, I'm going to put you back on the game drive vehicle with Sydney. Let's go see what he's up to.
I am now going towards the Torchwood where Tandy and Kalamba has just been spotted by the other vehicle. So I am going to queue in that area for a sighting. Things are happening down towards the Torchwood. So we might be lucky with Tandy and Kalamba. The viewer who asked that question, the answer I am going to give you a sighting of them today, as they have just been spotted now by so the two has just been spotted now. There is a sighting of Tandy and Kalamba. I am now rushing to the Torchwood. I can't wait to see Tandy. I haven't seen her for quite a long time in Kalamba. So it's just going to take me a couple of minutes to get there, as we were a little bit far away from the Torchwood. So now let's go to the Masai Mara, where David is also driving, looking for something.
Well, Sydney, just like you, I also cannot wait to see the sausage girls. Sorry about that. I also cannot wait to see them because big, and we've been thinking any time she hasn't done it. Maybe the last 3-4 days that I've not been here, So I also personally cannot wait to see the sausages. And even if it's not that one particular female, the normal two that have their 3 cubs. So it could be a matter of time before I pop them out. I would be very excited to see them. And what I'm doing now, I'm getting away from the actual road and trying to drive along this area, which is much safer. Not as much mud, it's less slippery, as much as a bit of off-roading. But I would say I'm better safe than sorry, eh? This is not the time I want to push or get towed. At the moment, I haven't seen any other car around here, even with gas. So it means many people are afraid of coming in this particular area of the black cotton soil, not to get stuck. But I've taken my chances. And it says so far so good, eh? So I want to look in this particular area. I've seen them once in a while coming this far, but of course, if there'll be no prey around here, Paula, I guess your question is the biggest ticks or flea to the animals. I would say that we've got some ticks here that are almost, that size, and they are huge. We saw some, I think it was yesterday, when we were watching one of the females of the Olololo Pride yesterday. Very huge ticks of that size. And what I found interesting is that these ticks do not cause any challenges or issues to the lions. So I would say ticks, but also Paula will get these cats or animals getting affected by fleas at the same time. The certain ticks that are that small, and the small ones that are very flat, just like a nail, have also bitten us very many times. And when they bite you, they go flat. Like they tend to dig into your skin, and they go flat, and you don't even see them. The only thing you're going to pick is some pain at one point. And then they start sucking blood. They suck blood and don't even feel the pain. So what happens at the end of the day, you see a very swollen tick. And it's always very tricky for us to remove them, because when you remove them, the fangs remain, on your body, and you might keep scratching that area for a long time. Even as much as, the tick is out and is dead, the fangs still, or the teeth, remain glued into your skin, and that area remains very itchy for a very, very long time. Well, this is one area I would have expected to see the sausage pride, and nothing doing. They might have gone to a totally different area, because I haven't seen any prey around, no wildebeest here, no zebras. So definitely if there's no food, they have no reason to be here. They need to go where food is. So I was showing earlier the boundaries of the Mara Triangle. I just want to point out to the horizon from where I am, and that general area is the boundary between Kenya and Tanzania. So once you're out of the Olololo escarpment, and then the horizon, where we're going to be showing you now in a few seconds, that's the boundary between Kenya and Tanzania. You can see how close I am. Actually, the boundary is very porous. The animals, of course, walk in and walk out, not the guests, of course, not us. We need to go through the customs and the migration, but that is Serengeti on the horizon. The Serengeti and the Mara, same ecosystem, and there's no difference between these two places. Well, I'll make a turn here. I don't want to go to Tanzania as yet. I didn't come with my passport. My passport is in the camp. But the wildebeest, the zebras, when they do the migration, they do not have any paperwork. Sorry, I missed all that. Please bring it again. I'd be happy to do what Rosalind might have wanted me to do, as I keep looking for my lions here. Okay, Roshni, I got you. I'll see what I can do. Just stay tuned, and should I bump into a tick if I got you right, we'll let you know what I can do. It's a bit windy here, and I think my comms are just a bit weak. All right, I just have to keep away from the road now, making sure I don't get stuck because it's very muddy and sticky, and it's very soft. For a heavy car like this, chances are it'll tend to sink. All right, sausages, where are you? And so funny, sometimes you drive in a particular area, you don't see anything, and you go back the same way and something shows up. It also happens this area is very good for cheetahs. We have a particular female that we call Kenya, and we had seen her here a few days ago. I'll not be surprised also if I see her today. Getting pretty muddy here, but hopefully we are still going to make it. The whole idea is to just stay on the surface of the grass and maybe drive on a few leaves to avoid making more of the ruts on the road. I have to come back to the road now. I think it's much better here. All right, sausages, where are you? We really want to see you, at least the cubs, and maybe find out about that one female which we think would be having cubs. Raul, how do we treat animals if they have a disease? I'll tell you, Raul, here we have always let it remain as it is. And if the disease got nothing to do with human beings influenced, it's a natural disease, we'll always let it go by itself. But if maybe, there is human being who could have been involved, for example, in accidentally hurting an animal, which rarely happens, we'll always call the vet doctors, and they'll always come and do what the best they can to treat them. But in general, animals will always take care of themselves. Well, this is the one final area. I'm thinking if I don't see them here, they might have repositioned or relocated themselves to another area much further up from here, where we'll always see zebras and, oops, sorry about that, all good. It's big fun, eh? When we keep spinning the road here, and that's because of the black cotton soil. Okay, Raul, there are also the animals here. For example, anthrax. We have seen elephants or bigger herbivores like buffaloes getting anthrax, but somehow they'll always recover from it. Certain animals, also like buffaloes, get a lot of skin diseases. You'll see their skin peeling off or their fur peeling off. Some is infectious, and then also they tend to recover. Lions will get and which is quite infectious, but also after some time they will always recover. Well, let's go across to Sydney, who is to get some leopard for us.
I am now entering Torchwood, and I'm hoping to see a Tandy first here by the Torchwood, and after that we will try to see Tlalamba, as they are not together, they are far apart from each other. So I can see quite a lot of tracks here on the road, showing that things has been happening here. go anywhere. So Kalamba is still here.
We do apologise for that. Here we are, and we have found ourselves a little arachnid here. Now, I'm not exactly sure what species of spider this is, but I tell you what, if I woke up with that in my bed at night, I probably wouldn't be a happy man. So we are seeing a lot more insects around this time of year, now that the rains are in. We've got to be very vigilant around camp. There's scorpions, spiders and centipedes, solifuges. Actually, the second night of camp, the second night I was here staying in this camp, I woke up and there was a solifuge on my shoulder. Now, not really knowing what they were, I absolutely freaked out. I didn't know at the time that they weren't venomous. I didn't know anything about them. So to have one sitting right there on my shoulder, whew, I did not get much sleep that night. The next day I researched into what it was, found out it was a solifuge, nothing I had to worry about, and all was well. But they're like a spider and a scorpion combined. I didn't know what to think. Now, I was just having a discussion with Steve about the fact that it is an overcast day, so there is no way we can see the sun right now. How would I find my direction without having the sun to guide me? And if we come over to, where's a good example? Just here. So this tree over here, we can see that this tree has quite a lot of lichen growing on this side of it. Now, if we come around to the other side, you can see that there is absolutely nothing. And that is because that is because in the southern hemisphere, the sun is always usually to the north. And obviously these guys, for optimum growing position, don't want much sunlight. So they will always grow on the southern side of a tree. So I'll try and find another tree just to give you a good example. But we can tell from this that that is south, this side of the tree. Louis, will lichen kill the host tree? No, it won't. It is somewhat parasitic, but it's not really going to have that much of an effect on the tree. So a lichen is a mix of algae and fungi is what a lichen is. So it's not actually just one species, it's two symbiotic species growing this sheet here. And whilst they do sit on their host, they're not really going to affect it too much. Perhaps if they were to smother the leaves, it might be a different story, but just on the bark here, they are more than fine. I love the colour of lichen too. It's really cool to see in marine environments. If you're at a harbour or something, there's a marked kind of line between the top of the waterline and the top of whatever surface it's on. And that is because just in that tiny little range between the tidal line and the top of the surface is just a tiny strip, just good enough for them to grow, and they won't grow anywhere else. So you can really see a marked kind of difference in environments, almost like an ecotone out here, you know, a transitional zone between two very markedly different environments. And it just goes to show that through symbiosis, they can tolerate both conditions. Very cool stuff. It's always good seeing the links between the marine and terrestrial environment out here. Oh, I'm going to continue to walk on and see what I can find. Let's send you up to David and the Murray.
Yes, it's time just now to drive about and keep proceeding. Don't get. And then 2, I might be able to get my lions on my way out. Sometimes it's when you're like, okay, this was not the day to get them, you end up getting them. So there's always that factor of the unexpected out here in the wilderness. So it's like, okay, today I'm giving up. I'm not seeing killer cat, then go down. And I'm also trying to keep my eyes on the ground, and as much as I am moving out of the big road, I have to be careful, because on the side of the road you could hit a boulder or a small rock which could damage your car. You don't want that to happen, because I need to be here every other day, as much as we've got a workshop and mechanics who do a pretty good job in fixing all cars. They need to be checked every other day, even when they have no issues. Once you're back in the camp, we'll go straight to the garage and the mechanic will just have a quick look just to make sure everything is in good shape. Well, sausages, I'm just trying to think why you could not be here. I had another theory, thinking because it is time for maybe for that one particular female to bring down the calves. They could be hiding. Tupi asks what migrates through here. Was it Topish that she would like to know the migrates through here, or what was she wanted to know the migrates through here? Good. And you like to know whether okapi do migrate through here? No, and apparently, I'll surprise you, we do not have okapis in East Africa. And the last place I think I saw an okapi was the Republic of Congo. So they do not migrate through. How many we have in the world? I mean, last time I was in DRC Congo, I only saw about 5 of them. So, but either way, they do not migrate through here. And I think they are mainly in that particular area when you think of okapis and where to see them. Very good, very good. Sausages, I still haven't given up. I'm still within their territory, and I'm sure Pat wants to talk more about plants.
Well, David, bad luck. I hope your search goes well. So we have found some more little insects here. What we have are little caterpillars on a monkey pod bush. So we can see, I was talking earlier about how if the lichens were to smother the leaves, that it could really negatively affect the tree. And what we're seeing here is a really good example of what does happen when something can affect the leaves. So if we can have a look here, these caterpillars have absolutely demolished the leaves of this plant. And this is probably going to result in stunted growth and perhaps maybe even destroy the tree completely. So these are the caterpillar of the African vagrant butterfly, and what they'll do is just continually feed until they have enough energy to go into their pupa stage, or their caterpillar pod, their cocoon, some might call it. And then after that they will metamorphosize into the African vagrant and come out as a beautiful butterfly. How good is that? So it's almost like an entire ecosystem we have here on this tree. We have the caterpillars coming and feeding, and of course they are going to provide food for any birds or any other predators that will come through. And then of course they're going to get eaten and the cycle will go on. But not only will these get eaten by other animals, if we look down here, we can see that there is quite a lot of dung left behind from these tiny little browsers. So what this is doing is recycling nutrients back into the earth. It's keeping that cycle of life moving. That's all life is, just one cycle feeding off the next. Paula, can I tell if a caterpillar will turn into a butterfly or not? Well, the only real way is to, I suppose, a moth or a moth. Well, whether it will turn into a caterpillar or a moth. Sorry, sorry, I misheard that question. So the only real way to know is to know what you're looking at, to identify the species and know whether it's the larval stage of a butterfly or a moth. We can't really tell unless we know that information. So we can see that there's a couple of other trees here that also have these caterpillars. But a bit of excitement, Sydney has found a leopard. Let's cross over to him.
So you can see that I've got Tandy right here in front of me, and she's looking at something. I'm not too sure if maybe there's a prey animal not very far away, but I can promise you she is concentrating a lot here. I am not alone around here. There's also other vehicles wanting to have a chance. Everyone is missing Tandy. Look at that. Thank you very much for all the comments. We managed to relocate Tandy, and she is slowly mobiling. Just that here where I am, there is a poor network access. So I just want to move forward a little bit so that we can have a better sighting. She is very much relaxed. Oh. Artifact holes. Looking at some. Apologies for the breakup. You can see that now she is just against the termite mound looking at something. Maybe she is doing some hunting this morning. And she's listening. And my apologies, you can see that there's another vehicle passing by right in front there. I'm trying to check what she's looking at, but it's difficult. The leopard's hearing ability and eyesight is good. We're not going to leave here. We're going to keep following. This is amazing. So now let's cross over to David, who is driving.
Well, it's time for me now just to enjoy the drive and see what I'll see. And I've kind of thought, I'll have another plan this afternoon. Go back to the camp, have myself a lot of food, a lot of breakfast, and then sit down and think and do my mapping on the Sausage Republic and try to work out where they would have been, where they went, and where they could be. So that maybe if we'll come back this afternoon, I will know exactly where to go. So anything I will see on my way out will be a blessing. And tentatively, I'm like, okay, the sausages, I'll leave you behind and see what else I could, get on the way. I would not be surprised to see hyenas on the way. It's still very wet out here, very, very wet. You have seen how I've been driving once in a while, the car going in every direction. And many animals, I'm talking about more of hyenas and lions, cheetahs or caracals or savocats, may not want to prefer to be in the grass because it's still pretty wet. So they may choose to come on the big road, which is much drier. As much as it's muddy, it's much drier and I would say much warmer than staying in the grass. So, or even a warthog. It could be anything I'll see on the way. Let me see. Oh, that was a huge bird I saw, but just flew away. It must be what you call a curry bastard. I mean a bastard, black-bellied bastard. I thought could have stayed. Hopefully it's going to land somewhere. I can see it fly. It's going to land. We'll be able to show it to you. There's some of the heaviest birds that we have around that do fly. Oops, 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 oops. See what I'm talking about? So just a slight touch of mud from a dry area, it just makes the car spin. Let me see if we can see that curry bastard there land, just in flight there. Let's see if it's going to land. If it's land, we're going to have a look at it. And yeah, actually, you think that's too far? You can get it. Let me just back up a little bit. I think it's a black-bellied bastard from what I can see from here. So let's have a look at it. How is that? There's some of the heaviest birds, I said, that we got here that do fly. And they tend to blend in very well in the grass. We got the black-bellied bastard, and we also got the white-bellied bastard. Where are you, bastard? Very interesting name. But it's the BU, not BA. Yeah, there she is. Not sure where she is. Yeah, the other one is a fly. That was some kind of skeleton. And that's the black-bellied bastard. The males being a little bit more dark on the breast than the females. Spend a lot of time on the ground. Spend a lot of time on the ground. Which you want to say there, Megan. And you'll always see them in ones. Very rare to see them going in groups unless, of course, they have the young ones. You'll always see them going on their own. The bastards, the largest one is the curry bastard. All right, Megan said, yeah, she loves the black-bellied bastard. Yes, and it's true. They're some of the most beautiful birds. In flight, they even come out even better. They tend just to remain there on the ground as they look for their food. Any insect they may be able to get. Small little beetles like what Sydney had earlier. Very unusual to see them perching. You'll either see them in flight, then they just come straight back to the ground. But it's quite rare for me. I don't remember seeing them perching on trees. They tend to remain on the ground, fly once in a while. And the rest, or the better part of their life, they're always scavenging for food on the ground. Curry bastards are massive, and when you see them, when they are having what you'd call, breeding plumage, they got such huge necks when they blow up their necks and the feathers up, and that will be especially in the males when they want to exit the girls. Did you hide for us there behind that Taman Mount, or you want to come out again? She must maybe have gotten something for herself, and that's why she is not coming out. If so, whatever it is, just enjoy it. Yeah, definitely she's having something there, and you can see all the clouds forming up there. Okay, nice. Of the curry bastard, still entertaining and give me some good spirit having missed my lions. Good to see a bastard. So I'll be hitting the big road now and hope I'll see something on the dry land and not on the grass or this area which has been very wet. And no wonder yesterday I think I made a good call not to come here for the afternoon. We would have been stuck easily here, or we would have remained on the big road without doing a bit of detouring. Okay, this is the much drier road, and you'll always have the game rangers or the park management making sure they maintain this road every few days. They don't want guests getting stuck, or even us, and people getting late for lunch in the camps they'll be going, or when they're leaving the camps to drive back to Nairobi. They don't want them to get late to Nairobi and maybe miss their flights. Okay, we're going to be heading now a bit of northwest for a bit of change, having done very well in that particular area. But I'm still convinced the sausages are not very far from there. But as I said, today I'll sit down and look at their huge territory and see what area I've covered today and what area I may need to go this afternoon or maybe tomorrow morning again. I found out to follow those streams is a lot easier in the morning than in the afternoon, because in the afternoon is when we get the downpour of rains. And when it rains here, as one viewer told me the other day, it's elephants, not only cats and dogs. I might surprise water because the area and the grass that you see is pretty short and it's very lush. We've got so many toms and gazelles feeding on that grass, which they prefer a lot. And I'm sure cheetahs might be following same animals. This is another bastard here, and it's much closer than the one we saw before. Not sure she's going to run away. It's a bastard about 1 o'clock. Alright, because my signal is not very good, let's go to a reptile on the guys who are doing tracking.
A Chelonian indeed. And another Specs hinged tortoise. Right next to the road. We had a sighting of a very small little baby not so long ago, and it disappeared into the thickets. It's obviously myself, Steve, back on the presenter's mic with Craig once again, showing us the artistic nature and the beautiful close-up of this tortoise with their little beak-like lip. Very ancient creatures, like the snail. They walk around with their house on their back, their protection. And they are very, very good grazers. They enjoy eating grasses, all the nutrient-rich grasses we have around. But being a reptile, they don't really need the food for the metabolic energy. It's all about the sun. And this one's showing us how warm it really is, stretching those legs. Very active this time of year with all the moisture around. Tortoises come out of all of their hiding places, as do the snails and the millipedes. There's a time of plenty out here. And we've had the Unkuhuma pride feeding on tortoises from time to time. Anna Marie, I don't know how good the eyesight is of tortoises, but it's not terrible. I mean, they definitely can see us coming. They know what we're doing, they know what's going on. Reptiles in general have got okay eyesight because they're constantly under threat of predation from the sky, from birds and the like. And so they obviously have a very good watchful eye. But tortoises, you'll notice, you'll come a bit closer to, and they'll just duck into their shell. They don't have to scurry away like other reptiles do. They can just duck in. But if Craig sits very still for a while, they'll come out and move again. But they definitely are very responsive to movement. Very responsive to movement. But I can't tell you if they see colour or anything like that. Not sure. I'm really not sure about coloration in tortoises' eyes. A lot of reptiles, though, must see colour due to the fact that they have such bright coloration on them for display. Otherwise, there'd be no point in the colour for males in breeding season. But what would tortoises need to see colour? It's difficult to say. He's legging it, Craig. Hello, Carol. Tortoises will lay eggs in the ground, and no, the tortoises will hatch and will move out of the ground and just move off on their own. They're pretty well adapted to feeding and doing their own thing from the day they hatch. There's no protection, no looking after them, no parental care. Just like in turtles that lay their eggs on the beach, there's no help from mum to get them to the ocean. And yes, huge numbers of them do not survive, but the small proportion that does survive, those are the ones that make it to adulthood. Well, very good. Tortoises, rain, we are loving it today out here in Djuma. Nice to be back, and without the black cotton soil of the Mara, we don't have any chance of getting stuck. Well, we're going to keep walking along, but underneath all the trees that I've been seeing as we go along, there's a huge amount of succession happening, and that is because a lot of animals have spent time under these trees ruminating, basically defecating, and there's huge numbers of forbs, grasses and trees. Here's a little, that's not a, yes it is. No, I'm not sure what that is. Very tricky when they are this size, but something to see from a tree versus a grass when they do germinate. Here you can see is a grass that is germinated, and it's very easy to identify the difference between a grass and a tree, because when grasses come out, they come out with one leaf, and then one leaf, and then one leaf. Can you see that? Very easy. All grasses germinate with one leaf in the ground, while they're called monocotyledons. They've got one sort of leaf, cotyledon leaf that comes out, and that is how you identify them when they're very young. When you're looking at a small tree, on the other hand, or a small shrub of some sorts, they come out with two cotyledon leaves, and then two cotyledon leaves again. And that is how you can see the difference between small trees and small shrubs. It is quite tricky, though, to identify them to a species level when they are so small. Sometimes, though, you can see, for example, this individual here is a baby knobthorn that is coming through. And you saw Pat talking earlier about the compound leaf. It came out as one compound leaf already from leafing. There you see one on either side. One on either side, so dividing and conquering as it comes up. So I can assume that's a knobthorn. It might not be, but there are so many of these that are coming through at the moment after the dry season. Lots of seeds deposited on the ground, all lying dormant on the ground, waiting for rainfall. Slowly they'll come up. Will they survive till next season? Will the impala get them? We don't know. But something that likes to eat impala, well, Sydney had some leopards, but he seems to have left.
Yeah, Rexon, I'm just now by Mamba Chitakat line. Where is the location of another leopard? I am right now trying to get the updates on the other leopard, as where we were with Tandy, the signals were very bad, and there is another leopard in the area. Okay, copy that. I am coming as if I'm going down towards Gary Main. Okay, copy that. Yeah, there is another leopard. I saw that Tandy, where she is, the signals are very much bad. And here, another leopard has been spotted, and I decided to leave Tandy because of poor signals to come and show you another leopard which has just been spotted. Maybe it's Hosana. Hosana has been spotted, and also Kalamba has been spotted in the area. It's going to be a leopard morning. So maybe we are not far away from where the next sighting is. see the vehicle deep in here. We are stationed in charge of Osana coming. Too much radio work this morning. Okay, copy that. I'm approaching. So now we are heading towards the next leopard after Tandy. So it's all happening somewhere here in front of me. I can see the other vehicles from here already. What I like about this place where I'm driving now is that it's nice and open. So the elephants have been digging a lot here in this area. Maybe these are the effects of the dry season. Elephants, this is what they do when it's too dry. They dig in order to get hold of the roots. That's why this area is so bumpy. Oh, I can see. A daily routine of a leopard. Movement is taking place much more at night. During the day, you can see them when the weather is not that very hot. So territorial leopards must have to patrol their territories all the time. So, but they spend much of their time looking after the kill. When they've got a kill, to avoid competition, they must have to be sitting by the kill all the time to try and protect it. Yep. So at the moment we have got Hosanna is just lying down here. He's looking very clean. You can see he's bright white. So the rain cleaned him for the past few days. You can see the pink nose is nice and clear. So that pink nose, when it's about 7, 8, 9 years, is going to change and become very dark. So it will be now telling you that Hosanna is growing. You can hear the woodland kingfisher is also making some noise. David, I am not too sure about the number of melanistic leopards here in Africa, but the black leopard is one of the melanistic leopard which has been spotted some years ago in some of the parts in Africa, also in South Africa specifically. So those are the conditions which are caused by the disappearance of the melanistic pigment, the pigment which gives these animals these different colorations. That woodland kingfisher is so very much serious about calling this morning.
Hey, stop it now.
So Hosanna has been traveling for quite a long distance. Last night was spotted by the quarantine around there. Now is by Torchwood. We are in Torchwood. He just crossed the cheetah cut line to Torchwood. So it means now we've got Tandy and Hosanna in Torchwood. And Kalamba as well is somewhere not far away from here. It's just that I'm not too sure where exactly. So you can see the ears are moving all the time because the insects and also the insects such as flies, they bother them too much. And by the ears, those are the inaccessible areas for these cats to clean themselves. So the birds such as the oxpeckers, they don't come to clean the leopards. They know leopards are not trustworthy. So they've got quite a lot of ticks and mites which affect them in the ears. So it means he might be in this area for the whole day. As I can see, the weather is perfect and he's looking very tired. He's not that very hungry when I'm looking at the stomach. He's not that very hungry, you can see. Maybe he caught something small, maybe a baby impala. Too much food for these cats at the moment. So now let's cross over to Steve, who is on a guided walk.
Thanks, Sidders. Well done on putting some leopards on camera this morning. Well done indeed. Well, we have stopped at a whiteberry bush, which Pat was detailing earlier on this morning, and you can just see the little sort of berries coming out. In the next month or so, we'll be eating those. But Craig has spotted a weevil on the end of the branch, which is not easily seen, in fact. It looks like a weevil or a horn borer type, not borer, a wood boring type of beetle. Can you see it? Just turn a little bit there. I don't know the species, but it looks like a very small wood-boring beetle, which very camouflaged on the end of this whiteberry bush, hidden and camouflaged. And Sarah wanted to know if I think plants communicate with each other. Well, there are a lot of studies out there that have proven that trees communicate through pheromones, either distributed through the air or through the roots. There's also some studies that have disproved both of those. So every study in the world has either got a winner or a loser in it. And I do believe that trees communicate. I believe that a tree that's being fed upon, like this one, the wind is blowing in a direction, communicates to a tree downwind that I'm being attacked, and then invariably increase the tannin contents on their leaf to prevent them from being eaten. Because as we spoke about earlier, tannins are a protection against browsing, herbivory, and trees, and I've done tests myself where I've taken a tree right here and I've gone and tasted it, and then I've taken one downwind and I've gone and tasted it, and then I've taken 5 minutes of attacking this tree with a stick, not really damaging it too badly, but mimicking sort of an attack like you would a giraffe feeding or an elephant feeding. And then I've gone and tasted this one and I've tasted the one down, and both of them, to me, the taste has gone up. It is a subjective thing, though, as well, because your mind is trying to think it. But they have done studies on it. They've proven that that does happen. But then there's also a study to disprove that. So very hard to really know, really hard to agree or not to agree. But studies and science in the world, as always, there's opinion on this side and opinion on that side. But anyway, we're going to say goodbye to you from the Bushwalk team. Thanks for joining us. It's been marvellous to being out here in the African wilderness on foot once again. But Sydney is still with the little chief, and he's going to be ending the show.
You can hear that I'm still at the same spot. The woodland kingfishers are singing beautiful songs for Hosanna. Maybe it's an ornament. They're trying to honor his presence here by this side of Torchwood, as he spent much of the time in Juma. So you mustn't forget that he is the little chief. So the little chief does deserve this kind of ornaments. It has been a very interesting and frustrating morning. Mary, indeed, this is a great last-minute leopard. There's a competition between Hosanna and Tingana at the moment when it comes to the last-minute appearance. And it has been a privilege having you as part of my game drive this morning, and I hope you have enjoyed a lot. All the sightings from the Masai Mara as well as the western side of the Greater Kruger National Park here in Juma Sabi Sands. It has been a leopard morning. We have tried hard in order to get hold of these leopards, and we will carry on and show you more during the afternoon. Let's meet again.